Hello, welcome to the review of the Benchmark AHB2, and I'm starting this sort of standing with my chair covered in headphones because I asked the owner if I could take the top off to show the innards during the review, and he's like, sure, go ahead, just don't, spit in it, which of course I was intending on spitting in it, but whatever. So I took out this bit set, which is by Pro Torque, because the screws that Benchmark used are security screws. They're a star with a pin so that you can't use it. Luckily, Amazon, for I think this was like $20, has all the security bits you could ever want to break into your equipment, which you shouldn't. So there you go. 3 heads, weird things, the ones with the 2 pit front. It's great. So I whipped out my Black Friday purchase Milwaukee Fuel M18 thing, which has multiple speed settings, which is kind of awesome. I probably won't be reviewing the tools. Should I do tool reviews? I know this is completely off base and you're here to watch about an amplifier. You're here to watch about the most extra amplifier, but tools. Anyway, I pulled the screws out and I'm like, all right, let me take a peek inside before I start the video. And so it's unplugged to make sure it was nice and safe. And I pulled this out and I went, oh, you fox. So there's an entire aluminum sheet here with security wax. That's like super fluid orange. So that they know, they don't care if you took the top off. They care if you took that off. Probably won't be warrantyable if you do that. So there's the look of the inside. Benchmark basically says, fuck off. Why are you in here? I should put an anime sticker right there, but then if someone sends it in, they're going to see butts. So I'm going to put this back together, and then we're going to get to the actual review. By the way, welcome to Z Reviews. I'm Zeospantera, and wallpaper in the description. I'm going to start with the basic specifications of this amplifier. It's anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000, and it's 100 watts per channel, which is pretty impressive for its size. But those aren't the numbers that you should be concerned with. Those are not the big numbers. The big numbers come because of this being the world's only THX amplifier. And not THX certified, like, surround sound receivers have THX logos on them. This is like 789 THX amplifiers. Ding. 100 watt per channel THX amps, like the technology, the AAA. I'll get the names in the next segment because I'm just going to do this quickly. So that's why this costs so fucking much. Benchmark, which is known for their DACs, honestly, and their source equipment, because they literally called themselves Benchmark so they could become the Benchmark. Brilliant marketing. Decided they wanted to put out a speaker amplifier. I don't know if they've had one previously. I don't really. Their stuff's always been real expensive, and I'm like avoiding it slightly. Not avoiding it, but like I know that the mass of people who watch my channel are not going to run out and buy a $4,000 DAC because the numbers measure slightly better. I mean, that's not always true, but I mean, I personally would be like, at least if you have a Benchmark product, it's an American-made one, and I know it's going to be good. So when they went to make a speaker amp, they went to THX and said, hey, you have this shit that makes really clean amplifiers for headphones. Can we make that like 1,000,000 times bigger? Actually, what's the maximum wattage you can get on a THX amp? 789 was like 3 watts per channel. And I think the AAA1 was also around 3 watts per channel. So this is like 35 times more powerful than those. And it is a beastly box. Look at the front of it for a second. Benchmark engraved in the stainless. I'm not sure if that's aluminum or stainless, but it's beautiful. Digital power button with a blue LED, but it's not a blinding blue LED, so it's fine. You have clip, temp, and mute meters, or indicators for each channel. And that's it. This is a power amp. I'll get to the back at some point. Which means, because it's a power amp, it means you have to limit the source coming into it, or it's just 100 watts all the time. It's kind of like the crowns. The crowns have adjustment knobs. Those are not for volume. You're supposed to set those and then never touch them again. So this is one step beyond that, where you ain't got no fucking options. And I'm sitting at my review desk for headphones, and we're going to change at some point because I realize I can't do everything this thing can do here. So we'll move around the house a bit. We're going to start, though. I whipped out the gold planar GL1200s, these monsters, because these are the ribbon tweeter headphones that I really love. Like these, the reason you haven't seen these in a while is because they live up on my desk where I work, and they're attached to a vintage Pioneer receiver. And I'll turn on that vintage Pioneer receiver, and its only job in my office, this big fucking honking thing from the 90s, is to run power into this via speaker wires and push these headphones through this resistor box. This box, I opened this box up, I put a sticker on it. Zeos, link to the anime girl sticker packs you buy for like $7, you weeb bastard. I would put one on this if it wasn't, it was like a boom. But so this is now pushing power through mica cables, which I will link because I 14 gauge of copper is all you need, into this. This is then quelling it down so it doesn't kill me and fixing the ohms load. And I'm pushing it with the Aoun S8, which is a DAC that I pull out whenever I can. I love this thing. It's got a flaw. Like my personal unit literally can't use fiber optic or II2S. It just starts the relay start freaking out. But I'm using coaxial digital into it. I think I could use AES or coaxial digital into it, and then it's fine. And I'm using it to control the volume. If you remember the review of that, this unit, I had to gouge the button out on the remote because it has the ability on the front of the unit, if you hold this button down, it goes from pre-out to line-out. So I want it on pre-out so I can lower the signal volume into this and therefore use it for volume. But that button used to be instantly switched to line-out, which in a couple other future headphones would be very bad. And the front button, at least you have to hold it. That one was just instant. But I love this DAC. Like Zeos doesn't like expensive DACs. This is like an $800 or $900 DAC. And I actually like the way it sounds. All right, there, I said it. I said that's the topping D70S is also a DAC that I like. I feel it, brah, I feel it. Even as flawed and broken as this is. So I'm feeding computer, pi hat, coaxial into this balanced out via world's best XLRs into this speaker out into this hit power button. I get music. And the thing is, the volume on this goes from 0 to 120% points. I don't know, I guess it's decibels. I guess it's decibels. I don't know where I go from 0 to 120 and out of 0 to 128 or 0 to 100. But out of the 120 in range, I'm at 110. And I know for a fact that this thing should destroy it, but we're not there because this thing is doing a very good job of not killing me. So I could raise the volume all the way to maximum 100. That's basically line out. I'm feeding this full 100 watts per channel is now entering this. And after sitting here, it's a little loud, a little for nerd. I praise the shit out of these GL1200s. And what I didn't do is try them on like 100 different amplifiers. I put them on, I think a cheap one, just to see like an SMSL. And then I think I immediately went to the big vintage Pioneer. And I fucking fell in love, greatest fucking headphones ever. Like literally some of the best things you could buy. And sitting down here with the Benchmark, which has the numbers to literally be the cleanest amplifier ever made on the earth. I don't think it adds anything to these headphones. These ear speakers, so to speak. Stop it. Because and again, this is just from lack of, because I do a review, but I don't do like 75 amplifiers into this. This is so clean that these sound neutral, like monitoring headphone neutral. And I think the old vintage Pioneer gives it some class A or AB like warmth. Like it really like brings something to the table that just doesn't. Now we're gonna move on to other headphones using either the IESL or I was sent a special cable by Double Helix. Double Helix makes very expensive cables, and someone who loaned me this was nice enough to contact them, which was nice enough to send me this. So Double Helix like, yeah, we'll make you a cable. We'll make you any cable you want. And I'm like, fuck. That means I'm gonna have expensive cables, and I don't condone expensive cables, but if you can get them for free, always do that. But really, this is a nice cable. But this is a female 4-pin XLR, just like headphones use, as balanced outputs on things use, into spades that are up in the thing. So we're going to plug some headphones into that now, but I'm going to have to get them because they're all over there because there's just too much on my desk. So do I think the gold planar GL1200s benefit from this amplifier and its cleanliness? Not in particular. I think you want to find something a little bit more characteristic, a more character-driven amplifier for this sort of setup. Anyway, I'll be back. Timestamp section before I bring the headphones back over. Let's look at the back of the unit. Power plug dead center. I'm just using a normal power plug with a balun on it. I could have used one of the stupid ones, but it doesn't matter. You get your 5-way binding post, but it might be more than 5-way. I don't know, because they are a screw terminal. You unscrew it. You could obviously put bananas through the back. What I've got here are the spade connectors, which Double Helix has attached to these, and I can get them right up in there. And you would put raw wire up in that spot too, so that's nice. Just things covered in writing, by the way. It's upside down for you, but THX, TUV, SUD, sensitivity. You could change the sensitivity of the amplifier. Made in USA. Benchmark made. Media systems output 100 watts at 8 ohms in stereo, 380 watts at 8 ohms in mono. So you could mono block these multi-$1,000. Don't forget the gemstones in the title. You could mono block these if you really wanted to be that asshole. And then 190 watts per channel at 4 ohms in stereo. So really 190 watts per channel, 4 ohms in stereo. At some point in this video, if you want to look at the timestamps on the bottom, I will be hooking it up to several pairs of speakers. Not sure which ones yet. I have tons of passive ones on the wall. I'm probably going to hook up to some of the, like maybe the RF7s haven't come out in a bit. This is going to be a very long review for me. It's going to take me hours to sort of set things up. But yeah, you've got the 12-volt trigger system here. You've got mode, stereo, or mono. Obviously staying in stereo. Here are the XLR inputs. Here's another 12-volt trigger. IO, both sides have it. They went very OCD, and I appreciate this, where we have a center line and literally everything out. The switches to the, because this is the switch for the sensitivity, and this is the switch for stereo mono. And you got a 3.5 millimeter for the trigger, and you got a 3.5 millimeter for another trigger. And then you've got in the center, you've got these three, which are speak-on connectors, which are these bastards. And I built this cable when I did the Dayton Ultimax sub. This is a 4-conductor. There's actually 4 connections in here. So a full left and right stereo set in one wire to another one, so it could power the dual voice coils on my sub that I built. And it has 3 because you could do 1 and 2 out, or 1 and 2 out. So it's 2 out, 1 and 2 out, bridge mono out. So this would plug in. If I still had my sub, I could legitimately switch this into mono mode and then try to power a 15-inch driver with it. But we don't have that sub anymore. I gave it to my friend. He's using it now in Ohio with his new baby. So he's got a baby and a 15-inch subwoofer. So yeah, you got some connectivity options. Let's lay this thing back down. I had it crushing some headphone pads because you don't want to smash against the table. Can I throw those in there? I can. Let's get a headphone. Let's just grab one. I'm going to grab one and then we'll assess, because this is the first headphone I plugged into it. And it was kind of what I try not to judge a thing by like, okay, I've judged it now. Like, oh, I listened to 2 things, I've judged it. But T60 Argons, which are one of my harder to drive headphones, I think everyone could agree. Balance connector, balance cable into that. We've got the volume on this low. Plugging this in here. We'll change off of NERD. Put them on my head. Time to raise the volume. 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70. These headphones have never, ever sounded this good. Like, I have to describe this, because I use the T60s a lot. I pull them out. They're like the benchmark. I can't test the DT880 600 ohm because only balanced headphones can be used on this. If you're going to use it for this purpose. If you will use this for speakers, jump to the end of the video. This doesn't concern you. Or jump to whatever part of the video the timestamps take you to. But the owner of this doesn't hook it up to speakers. He's got an adapter wire he made. And he just like this. And he can just get off of there. Just like this with this, this one's got the crazy like hexagonal. No, it's not hex would be 8. There's like 15 sides. I don't know what that is, but he's got a cable like this, and he just runs his Susvaras off it. I got to hear Susvaras on this. Susvaras are the Hi-Fi Min headphone that are legit. I was like, oh, you know, Hi-Fi Min makes some good stuff, but Susvara, I was jerking off on Susvara, then I jerked off on Susvara. Eventually, I'll get a Susvara to review, and then it'll be like, well, now everything has to meet up to Susvara. And I did not want it to be that way because Hi-Fi Min is like, meh. And too many people are too opinionated and they're like, oh my God, Susvara. And then it happened and I'm like, oh. But now T60 Argon on this amplifier. All right, I have to describe what it's doing. Because really it's battery death. Because really, this isn't like magic. It's just an amplifier. And the only thing different is the... Oh, shit, I didn't open up the... Down the Mall? No. L50. I don't... You know what? Let's check to see if this son of a bitch is on Amazon. Just because. I mean... I don't think it's gonna be... I can never remember the name, by the way. AHB2 just doesn't... AHB... It just doesn't work. ABH2 is what I keep doing in my head. Yeah, no. Exercise equipment. Here's a THX 789. Here's a Project Silver. But no, they don't. This doesn't exist here. We're going to have to go off script, so to speak, and find it where it lay. Because I want to definitely... I guess we'll go to the actual homepage. $3,000. Pay in full or in 4 interest-free installments. Blah, 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 blah. Due to very high demand, the air is shipping within 3-week back order, place order. After this review, that high demand is going to be way more than 3 weeks, especially if you have the money for the best headphone amp on earth. We'll get to it. The quietest, cleanest audio amplifier on the planet. True high-resolution performance. Where are the specs? Give me the nerd specs. I want these. There we go. Award specifications. So... 0.0003% total harmonic distortion plus noise. At full rated power, that's dumb. Because usually amplifiers are like, here it is at 10 watts. You know, it's a 100 watt amp, but at 10 watts, it's real clean. None of them will take you all the way to the 100 watts, 130, 190, apparently 240 watts per channel to 3 ohm speakers. They're just saying 3 ohm speakers? Fine, plug them into this. What the fuck's the difference? They don't mention 2 ohm. And then in bridge mono at 6 ohms, 480 watts per box. With output voltages and variable impedance and signal to noise ratio and dynamic range of like 135 decibel in mono, 132 in stereo. These are, the numbers on this are not the 100 watts and it's not the $3,000. These are the numbers. This is what makes this unit literally the definition of a unit. I mean, everything is fucking dumb. Crosstalk, 115 decibels at 1,000 hertz and negative 92 at 20,000. The dampening factors are fucking, 30 at 20,000 hertz. It's all, just scroll this specifications list and it's just like, oh, is this possible? Anyone who knows anything about amplifiers would be like, huh. 12.5 non-rack mount version, which this is 12.5 pounds. So it's a 12.5 pound little chunky unit. Apparently it also runs on 240, so you don't even need an adapter. And standby power is 0.5 watt. Idle power consumption is 20 watts. So it's using 20 watts. Just on and not doing anything. I really should have hooked up my kilowatt to see what it draws. But I don't think that's going to be much with headphones. Yeah, this thing is the dumb. It's the dumb numbers. But now, how do the dumb numbers sound? That's my job, which is fucking trust me, don't rather be brain surgeon, because at least you fuck that up. It's like, oh, I'm bleeding. So compared to normal amplifiers, which this is definitely much not a normal amplifier, it's like stripped away. It's like every time I've ever heard these headphones, it's been just, you know, someone shoved mayonnaise and tissue paper in it. And now it's not there. Because A, we're not going through any sort of converter with resistors. This is straight fuck you power out of this into this. And these are, I think, 50 ohms. So they're probably running at somewhere along the lines of like 16 watts per channel if it needs it. If we turn that up all the way. And it's like it's just stripped away any veil that any amplifier's ever had. And I think some headphones need a coloration, like those GL1200s. Those need something wrong, some sort of like, not wrong, but like it needs some flavor. You could just have plain rice. You could have rice with a little bit of salt, and they need that. But headphones like this that are designed to be fun from the get-go, if you can clean up and power them properly, holy fuck. Like the imaging is like twice as good as it's ever been. Imaging, how did imaging get better? It's just more power and cleaner, more power. I guess cleaner, more power is what you need. I know for a fact Ryan at Mod House, who makes these, probably doesn't have one of these. And if he did have one of these and built headphones on them, he would wonder why people are complaining. Why it sounds. This makes it sound better than he's ever heard it. The creator of the headphones. This would make almost all headphones that anyone has sound possibly better. Which is like, that's a hell of a praise. Like, I don't usually do expensive things. I do expensive things are good, but you know, there's like a line. This is the line now. This is like, oh, did you not spend $3,000? The owner said he got this for $2,000, like through a dealer, through a thing. But that's still $2,000 just to take a speaker amp and then buy an adapter wire or build an adapter wire to run a headphone. One headphone. He bought it for one headphone. Because it's hard to do other headphones if they don't take the power. I'm going to swap out to HC600s. I've got the Peacocks and I've got the Meze Elites, which are real easy to drive headphones. But I gotta know. It's one of those amps that once you've heard it, like all the sounds are lighter. They're like, they float now. Usually these headphones are like heavy. Like, you know, they're the T60s and not T50s, but it's like, they're usually a little bit heavier. And everything here now is just, it's just infinite control. Because that's what power does. That's one of the comparison in subwoofers, rhythmic versus SVS. Rhythmic subwoofers are low power, 400, 800 watts, which is relatively low power, but they're servo, so they delicately control where the driver is. And the way SVS gets around not being a servo sub company is if they need to control delicately where a driver is, put 3,000 watts at it and literally go, just yell at it with all the power in the world to control where it needs to be. And that's what this is doing, delicately, cleanly. It is literally taking the driver where it was, moving it here, screaming at it with 100 watts, and then taking it back. Or whatever hell the wattage turns out to be with the conversion. And you could tell, usually you don't need that for headphones. That's another thing. Whatever this is pushing out for 50 ohm headphones, 16 watts or something. Not really necessary on most headphones. That's why headphone amps exist. I'm going to do this Musician Andromeda and give it a fucking praising review real soon. Probably maybe even later today. But now that I've heard this, I know exactly what every headphone amp is missing. And it's just insane overhead. Just because THX amplifiers, THX 789, THX AAA1s, are very good clean linear amplifiers, but they're not infinitely powerful. So they just sort of like they move it cleanly. And as long as you don't, if you get to the harder to drive headphones like these, like the 800, it starts to get like, you find the limit. And I didn't know what no limit sounded like. This is what no limit sounds like. I'm going to stop. I'm going to pull all the other headphones and I'll give you the impressions in a second. Hold on. So doing a bunch of this. So, I'd like to thank Double Helix for also sending me this adapter, which I didn't know existed. 4-pin XLR to 4.4 Pentacon. So I go, oh yeah. Because I asked them if they could make me the cable with just a 4.4 Pentacon female, because all my shit's set anyway. And they didn't say this, but then I realized it afterwards. You want to plug directly in like this. You don't want to be dragging contacts back and forth where grounding could happen when you're talking about a 100 watt per channel speaker amp. That bad. And plugging in and out of a regular headphone amp, you get 3 watts of power. Maybe if it grounds for a split second, it's fine. But when you're doing this sort of shit, you want to plug 4 pins that can't possibly ground out right into each other. The end. So, I've missed you, babies. Missed my babies. So, I've given probably 8 or 9 headphones a run on this. Obviously, I heard Susvara, but I didn't really hear Susvara on other things. It didn't come to my room for me to play around with it, so I won't judge that. But I'll tell you right here and now, this amplifier isn't required on every single headphone. Sometimes there's huge changes, and sometimes there's like no change. For example, the Sendy Peacocks. Love these things, $1,800. I had to bring them. I actually left these at Capital Audio Fest, like at the headphones.com booth. Like, you guys want to show these off? Just have random 100 random people to put them on, just because I wanted people to hear them. Because no one's buying them unless they hear them. So I left them there with them, even though they don't sell them. And I'm just like, just give me an opinion of what everyone fucking loved them. I put them on a certain amp, and they're like, oh, everyone loves them. But now sitting here with the greatest amp, let's just call it the greatest amp. In fact, Zeo's title, the greatest amp in general, just headphones, speakers. It should be the greatest amp. However, plugging like this pair back and forth between this and the Burson and the topping and the Singzer, and then I had it on the music. There's no change. There's no change because some headphones are just easy to drive, or their tuning is in such a way that it's just like, no matter what you power it with, it's great. And actually, I have 2 headphones on the table that are kind of like that, because here are the Meze Empyrean Elites, which luckily enough, most of these are around the 55 to 60 volume, so about half gain into this. Obviously, the GL1200s were maxed out, and I was running the T60 Argons around 75, but everything else seems to run around that area. So I don't have to like concern myself with blowing anything up. I mean, they're loud, but it's still like, yeah, I don't think, like, I can tell that this is probably 2% cleaner in certain areas than like the A90, which is my benchmark. This might say benchmark, but my benchmark for, okay, linear, clean, but not sterile and boring, A90. And going back and forth with a few of these headphones, it's like, there's something different, but is it, what's the topping, around $500? So is it like $2,500 better? No. Unless money's literally falling out of your asshole as you walk down the street and there's no poor people anymore because they're just following around grabbing wads of it, I'd probably save the $2,500 and just get an A90. However, some headphones specifically love certain amplifiers and don't love certain amplifiers. You know what headphone I have to get out? I'm gonna have to pause this video and get it, because the fucking 909s are probably the most picky motherfuckers. I love you, but they're over there in red. Just I don't pull them out all the time because there's like an 8% chance they're gonna sound good in a certain amplifier. Whereas like the HC600s here, definitely this is the best they've ever sounded on a solid state. And I'm gonna say this, I prefer them on a tube still. Even a cheap tube, even a TA26. I prefer HC600s on a tube. It's just what they do. So it's kind of like I'm learning a little bit of a lesson here. Like, I absolutely concur with everyone who said this is probably the best headphone amplifier ever made. Might be the best speaker amp ever made. We'll find out at the end of this video. We'll find out together. But some headphones just don't give a fuck. And I respect the headphones that aren't like super demanding of, you need a specific amp with specific, you know, like tubes. And then, oh my God, you have to have the right resistance in the cable to just work. I like headphones that just fucking work on you know, cell phones that have headphone jacks or $4,000 amplifiers. It's $3,000 or anything. And they just work and they always sound good. And some audiophiles are actually against that because like, oh, it's obviously garbage if it doesn't scale. But I mean, Meze Empyreans, they kind of don't scale with amplification. Like they sound, the review of this isn't done yet. As of the taping of this review isn't done yet. And the review of that's going to very much be, these are some of the best sounding headphones I've ever heard for me personally. And I plug them into a bunch of shit and it doesn't make a fucking difference. They're just that. They are the best headphones I've heard on everything. And audiophiles are offended by that because they're spending big bucks to make their source equipment perfect. And maybe this is all that really matters. But sitting here with the few that I've done, I'm going to pause now and grab the things for that because I got to find the wire to make it balanced because it's got to be balanced. You can't power anything that's not balanced. And I'll give you my impressions of the 909s in a second. Oh, yeah. Well, I guess that low end, my word. And I'm low on this now, where everything else was happy at 60, and then some things were happy at like 75. These are 40, and we're loud, so... Viking weave, by the way, with the red and blue. And the split all the way at the end, custom mated to fit with hard audio connectors, so I don't have to have one connector. Yeah, okay. I guess this is the best they've ever sounded on a solid state. So the fact that two headphones now, the Foxtex TH909s and the HG600s, I mean, what else could I put? I guess I can't put the Neumanns on. They're not balanced. I actually can put the new KPH 40s on if I built a balanced cable for it, which I don't have. But the fact that more than one headphone in the last few days has sounded the best it's ever sounded on a solid set of this, that's pure win right there. Yeah. So I mean, what is doing? Because it's not power. I'm lower than almost all the other headphones. So if it's not raw power that's making these sound this good, what is it? It's just lack of fuckery. They should just have a label: lacks all the fucks. How many fucks does it give? 0. They're not even included. Everything I play sounds just, they're not harsh. Like the TH909s can get harsh sometimes. And like I hear that sparkle, but it's like, I can wear these all day. I don't pull the 909s out because most amplifiers just, like the best amplifier for the 909s is not even here. It's the X2O TA10 with a vintage 1950s tube in it that's slightly off balance. That sounds the best on these. And I'd probably replace that with this, but that's a little bit pricey to pay one pair of headphones. But, oh, it sounds so good. Taking it up to 48, because Nitro 76 soundtrack is just... By the way, these are modified with the Yaxi TH900 pads, in case you're wondering, because people have been like, what pads are you using those? Yaxi TH900 pads. Yeah, okay. I wish I would have taken these out earlier. Then I could have waited like another 3 days with this review, and then I could have, the space. Like it did this on the T60s too, where you listen to it, and it's not just cleaner, and it's not just better imaging. There's like a space that it enhances the space. That's got to be the. I'm trying to think what fucking one of those specs would do that, because if I could figure out what spec does that, is it the THD? Is it the crosstalk? Maybe having an extremely wide crosstalk is what does it. But it's like something about this is just better. When it's better, it's fucking better. And when it's like, it's just okay. I know it's a quality amplifier. There's no negatives about that. It's just expensive if it doesn't fix your headphone. And I could try every headphone. Please join my patronage for $10,000 a month, and I will try every headphone on every amplifier for you personally. Yeah. Oh. Damn. That violin is in my eyeballs. Okay. Well, that's another one of those ones that sounds the best it's ever sounded on a fucking amp. So, in conclusion to this half of the review, because this is only half of the review, that's why there's timestamps now. Isn't that wonderful? For a headphone amplifier, if you got the money to burn, and like, because it's not going to make every one of your headphones sound the best they've ever sounded, but I've gotten at least two and just a few that I've pulled off the wall. I pull the Tim socks off. Like what it's doing is it's making me look at my wall and go, Tim socks. Those are real linear, but I wonder how the linear they'd be on the linearest of linear power amps. But this is not even getting warm. It's like just above room temperature because obviously the load's not great. But it's like I want to start. It's getting me to that point where I'm like getting itchy. Like, well, if I own this, I could listen to all my headphones on it again. It's like, but I don't. It's a loaner, and the guy might be selling it, so it's so. Ending the headphone portion of this. Yes. Don't buy a $4,000 DAC. Don't buy the Hollow May. Buy any DAC you want that has a reliable volume control, because if I press that button there for more than a second, these would ignite into flames, and there goes $1,800. Because that would just 100 watts per channel. Is that what you wanted? I'm sure that's what you wanted, Steve. We ordered it right up. 100 watts, full fucking tilt. Fuck. I almost was tempted to put on my because people are insane about preamps, and I have one of those click boxes, which I'm probably going to use when I do the speaker portion of this. I'll use the click box so that I could max out my source voltage, then use an actual analog relay switcher, and then control the volume in that, so we don't blow up any speakers. But yeah, this for headphones, I very much approve. Very much approve of this for headphones. It's a little jank. We got to get a custom wire made for you, and then adapters, and don't do this. Do this. Don't this. Do this. I'm sure that'll be a GIF on the internet at some point. Yes. Moving on. Download that particular wallpaper. I'm sure it'll change somewhere else, wherever the fuck I decide to do speaker testing right now. Before I continue the review of the Benchmark amp, which is here, which I'm setting up here in the home theater space just because I feel like it's the least cluttered and newest. I want to do like a semi-review, like a middle of the fucking other review of these Kanto SX26W speaker stands, because this is all metal, and like the whole thing is metal with a pass-through hole to a slot on the back. This is the bottom of the unit, and I want to show you I did an unboxing of this, but I haven't actually put it together yet. This is the hardware for the floor. So it's got a silicone gray nut that obviously is soft. That white bit is metal, and the spike is permanent. And you're supposed to put these spikes in like that, and then you get 8 of these silicone bottomed stands that have peel off protectors. So you put this on the floor, and then the spike from that goes into it. And it's like, as Zeos, I don't permanently set up speaker stands almost anywhere. So I'm only doing this for this review here. I'll either put them on the rug or keep them on the mat. Obviously the spikes would damage the mat. And I love how the engineering is where you could actually raise and lower the spike using an Allen key through the top of the foot, to the top of the base. So it's just, this is absurd. And like the presentation of this kit is just like, oh, and it comes with a little bubble level. So you could put it on the stand when you're done and level it out. This is quality. I didn't think Kanto makes decent speakers, but this might be a Brainwave scenario where, you know, Brainwave's made headphones, they were meh, then they make really good headphone pads. Kanto makes really good speakers, you know, mostly the Tux are like the ones I look at, but holy fuck, they're speaker stands. These things are insane. All right, let's have a seat on basically the floor of my theater. And I whipped out the Shandling because you can't get more convenient as a preamp and a music source in the middle of fucking nowhere than that. So, I played around with the gain settings in the back, and I determined that the way I think it sounds best, and Gizmo, who's using that amp for his headphones, says medium gain is where he's at. I put it to high sensitivity, so it's looking for 2 volts because I'm not running this at full turbo mode because the pre-outs on this follow the gain mode, so it's low, medium, high, and turbo. I'm actually running it, I think, on medium. Yeah, I'm running medium gain, output XLR to the benchmark. That's looking for 2 volts sensitivity, and I'm running into the Bucart S400 Mark IIs. And I've got them on those stands that I was setting up, the Kanto stands, which are rather low for like the height of the chairs I have here. When I move to the triangle towers in a minute, I'll move up to the actual seat. But just sitting here listening, like the delicacy of it all, because I've listened to these speakers on a couple of amps. They've been here for 2 or 3 months, and when I'm shuffling through, and like something low-endy comes on, like secret low end, they're nowhere near a wall too, so I'm like waiting for these speakers to like just give up the ghost, and that's not a good song. What else do I got here? Hold on. Game of Thrones, lots of Game of Thrones, so much Game of Thrones, holy shit. What's this? Ave Maria. Here you go. Now, I mean, what are we praising here? Are we praising the speakers, or are we praising the amp? Because the idea is that, at first, at least take speakers that I know and have used, although I haven't used them here, I've used them there, and run them through this amp and see if I can notice a difference. And really, the only thing I could tell you about the speaker performance is I trust it's doing its job, which is a bit of praise, because, you know, you plug in an amplifier here and there, and you've got like, Bucart is like one of my favorite speaker brands as far as passive speakers go, and then also active speakers. So having it in a place that I think should have no low end, because it's in the middle of the space, 10 feet from a back wall with just thin curtains stopping from reflections, and then by the way, you like my ceiling, it's beautiful. The fact that it can still belt out like that rumble. Let's just put this on my lap. Good boy. Definitely not getting monetized. I played for that for at least 12 seconds, so I'm just ruined. Lower that a bit. Yeah, with it on medium gain out of this and the highest sensitivity on that, I could run around 75. I feel like the fact that I'm like balancing it all so well, the power output that's gonna have, because I mean, like my clips over there, the Heresies in the background, I'm running them off 2502 crowns. You can see them back there sitting off and idle right now, and I run them in stereo, so the left channel gets the horns, and the right channel gets the woofer, and then I do all sorts of mini DSP stuff. This amplifier there, which would be far less powerful, would just be a marked improvement. But I don't think I'm willing to, I personally am willing to step up if I had to pay retail $3 grand each, because I would need one for each side so I could separate the highs and lows. I don't think I could do it. I think there's a line that I follow that's like, all right, this is too expensive for this sort of shit. If Benchmark was like, hey, Zeos, can we sponsor your home theater? We'll give you a stack of 8 of these amplifiers. Fucking do it. Obviously, duh. I'll fucking wear, I got a Benchmark tattoo right here. Benchmark, they'll look perfect, do it. Because I think it would make a marked improvement in any speaker I plug into it. Just judging based on that. Because I love these speakers. And I know these speakers, and I know what the depth and the imaging should be, and I'm sitting on the floor, and I've got this, by the way, it's on sale for like $760 for this. The beast mode, everything in one, with the displays. And it's just like, yeah, I could see why this amplifier it's why it's out of stock. And once you see this video, it's gonna be even more out of stock. Because I've never heard THX amplification in speaker. No one has. Until you've heard the benchmark, AHB2. AHB2. So it's like a whole, it's not like Class A. It's not like, oh, the richness, the warmth of Class A. And it's not like the dark, cold digitalness like the crowns put out or something of Class D. Where I like the Class D crowns because they are just extreme power and, you know, flat, neutral. Like, as long as you're not getting anywhere near the distortion line, which on Class D is like anything past 60% of its rated power, which is why I got the biggest Class D crowns, because I'll never touch them with those clips, ever. But this benchmark, if I ran them to the maximum power, 1-to-1 out of this, 1-to-1 out of that, to speakers that can handle it, it wouldn't distort. It'd be perfect. And I think that would be enough for almost anything. I'm amazed. I mean, I know why I go to audio shows, or I do go to audio shows now, and they don't have these in rooms with like $40,000 speakers, because it's too cheap. $3,000 for the amplification? Are you insane? Even if you had monoblocked ones of these, which, by the way, my heart flutters to think of monoblocked versions of these. The depth of that. I question if, I mean, I think companies who make speakers should probably have a benchmark amp, this amp, and then assume that no one else on earth is going to have something this clean. Like when you run a measurement rig and you put the microphone in front of the speaker to test it in the anechoic chamber, my hope is that they're running it off a benchmark amp, specifically this benchmark amp. Because I think I trust it that much, that this is like it's a benchmark piece of equipment. It is a piece of equipment designed for somehow utter neutrality, and yet just so much power that it brings out everything a speaker is supposed to do. I'm gonna play a couple more. See, I don't have to play music for you. I have to talk to you, because you can't listen to music, because then I get demonetized and fuck. And that's why I say thank you for supporting me on Patreon and Subscribestar. But I want to stop listening to these and move the Triangle Boreal Bureau 9s up and give those a listen, because I've heard those upstairs on a couple amplifiers, and upstairs is shit, down here is much better, and I want to know what those sound like, because of the full tower, and towers are actually more efficient, so I'm gonna have to turn this down when I do it. But until then, yeah, that's a Shalimar from the Beverly Hills Cop. Don't get stopped in Beverly Hills. That's Chromatics, white light. Skip forward. Yeah, no, yeah. Well, let me run through the power on, power off procedure. Hold on, I can stand up, I got this. When you hit the power button, which is again a momentary, there are 3 lights aside. You don't want any of those coming on ever. If they're on, something bad has happened. Because the outsides are clip bad. Clip means you're driving too hot a signal in there, or the speaker is literally overloaded and it's feeding back, and it's clip bad. Temp, which means you've over templified. That's not a thing, but you know, over temperature. Now I've just been running these speakers now for 30 minutes at a decent enough clip that it's like they got some draw to them. I mean, we're in a basement, it's not exactly warm, but these are just, I can't even, it's actually cooler here than it was on my desk because of the airflow from just being floating in the middle of the room. And the last ones are mute, which you can't actually activate the mute circuit, but when you turn it off, the mute lights stay on and then it shuts off. So let's swap wires. 1, 2, 3, 4. Give this a kick here. I'm gonna keep it on the rolling carts for ease and height, so I could sit on the actual seats now. This is not lit for reviews, obviously, so please to excuse me. What did I do? I rolled that off and I just sort of tucked it in. There you go. Where are we looking? Straight at the middle of the seats. Straight at the middle of the seats. Trying to judge distance. Okay, I'm gonna turn it on. We still playing? No, we're paused. Power, everything lights up. Temp and clip turn off, mute stays on. Mute disappears, and we are ready to go. And now I can put purple cushion, and I could put this up on one of the tray tables like it was meant to be. Oh. And now we can listen to some towers. Now let me lower the volume because I'm not sure how the efficiency is going to change. Haven't touched any settings on the amp. Wow. All right, I'm going to give this 20-30 minutes of listening. Take my pants off, then put my pants back on, and then turn the camera back on and tell you what it sounds like. I've been on a trip now for like the last, probably 40 minutes. Just sitting here scrolling through my phone going, have I ever heard this before? Oh yeah, I've heard this song 100 times before. I'm probably gonna finish up this benchmark review and then honestly review these triangles, because I feel like right where they are with this amp, I'm gonna have to make it very well known that, all right, I'm reviewing these triangle speakers, but I just happen to be on the, you know, world's most linear amplifier ever been, and give them that review that way. But shit, these are more impressive here than the boot carts. And I'm pretty sure it's a lot to do with the speaker, but this amplifier, like, there comes a point in your audiophilia where it isn't just about performance and specs, it's about trust. And I trust Benchmark the company, and I trust THX the technology. So therefore I trust this Benchmark amplifier, because it's just, I know based on everybody else's recommendation, and now throw mine onto the fucking pile, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be the world's most powerful, most linear, best measuring, stupid fucking amplifier. And what the fucking...
Man, I got something to tell you. I don't know how to explain it.
I want to get to the part where the bass kicks in, but I also don't want to get copyright. I'm really hard trying not to get copyright strikes on this, so...
I don't sing, rhyme don't bang. Make it ink when the paper get flame. Ignite like propane. No sweat, no blood, no pain, no gain. No cards, no deal, no dice, no game, no day.
But that's from the Blade soundtrack, the original Blade soundtrack. That's Mystical, Edge of the Blade. Yeah, this is dumb. It's a dumb amp that's doing dumb things, and as much as it is stupidly priced at like $3,000, I believe it. All the hype, because it's not like Benchmark is pushing this in magazines. It's just Benchmark makes this, THX makes this. It does everything people claim it does. It does things that people wish their amplifiers could do. And I have like the little topping PA3, like the PA5, the new one. And I'm probably just gonna plop it down on top of this and give a listen. And just do the exact, just not even change anything. Just because, I mean, how much better can this Benchmark be? My worry is a lot. And then it's like, well, this might be a THX moment. When I did the 789 years ago, there was every amplifier I'd heard before the 789, and then every amplifier I heard after that. And it took a long while for that curve to come back up. It took the A90, which was like a year and a half later, before I had anything even close to like what I heard at that moment. And we're talking about like a $400 amplifier that was replaced by a $600 amplifier. This is $3,000. We're not gonna get anything affordable that sounds like this for a couple years, when THX tech starts seeping into other cheaper brands, not Benchmark? And then how do we know they're even going to be implemented right? This thing, I'm done. I have to stop. There's nothing else I could tell you. You're fucking dumb. You're fucking dumb. All right. I'm wrapping it up. Wallpaper from the earlier part of the review, all the way the fuck over there in the description. Patreon and Subscribe Star if you want to see these reviews early. You want to participate in yard sales where I, things I've reviewed, not necessarily anything you see here, but things I reviewed are sold in the yard sale. 1st to 10th of every month, I ship for free content to the United States and Canada, and because now I've got a Canada ground, it's much cheaper, and half shipping international. So if you live in France, you can get stuff to France. Check out Hi-Fi Guides, the Hi-Fi Guides forums. There's a $10 tier on Patreon and Subscribe Star that lets you ask me questions if you want to ask me questions. Like, Zeos, you had the benchmark. Did you do this? Did you do that? If you were in that chat right now, knowing I have this, because obviously they know I have it, I took pictures and everything, you could say, hey, Zeos, have you tried hooking up this set of speakers? And I will go do that for you. That's what the $10 chat's for. Yeah, that's it. I think I'm gonna stop this video. I think I'm gonna review the triangles, and then I think I'm gonna sound demo the triangles here on that, and then I'm gonna figure out what in my life to do, because it kind of screwed me up a little bit. It's just fucking, why do you exist? Because somebody had to do it. Anyway, I've been Zeospantera. Sorry this video is so long, but there's timestamps now that you could jump to, so fuck it. And I'll see you in 2 days. Also, sound demo for other things, not this. This isn't got a sound demo, but I will try to demo at least 1 or 2 speakers on the sound demo channel with this, which is somewhere else. Click Zeos link to sound demo channel. Goodbye. Goodbye. I gotta go. This is